asked to make a short video about some of the projects that I've been involved in. And I thought I might make a video for the little guys, for the people who just do small projects and the people who are self-employed like me, because I'm not building roads or bridges, I'm just me. But actually I do use project management all the time. So I thought it might be interesting to explore that a little bit, because what is a project? And I would say it's anything with more than, let's say, 10 tasks. So you can't hold it in your head. Also, I think anything that has more than, say, 2 people, more than or equal to 2 people, because you have to agree a plan with both of you so you both know what's going on. And by the time you've got 4 or 5 people, you really do need to have a plan that's agreed at the start and everyone knows their part. And also maybe something that lasts more than perhaps 6 weeks or something like that. So if it's a longer thing, then you need to know who's going to do what and when, and you have to remember stuff you're going to do in a month or 2. And so if it's all happening in a week, you can probably do it in your head. But if it's spread out, then you need a project plan. So I was thinking about projects that I've done that fit these criteria. The first one was my daughter's wedding. So my daughter's also quite into project management, and the wedding has a lot more than 10 tasks, and you really don't want to forget any of them. So we sat down and we did a list of every task we could think of. And then we realized that quite a lot depended on each other. Who do we invite? It depends on the venue, etc. So we actually drew out a network diagram, and we linked we put them all on Post-it notes actually, and we did a great big diagram with all the Post-its like that, and we had it all drawn out. And it worked really well, and I'm really glad we did it, and the wedding went smoothly, exactly to plan. So that was the first project that occurred to me. Another mini project was to do with the band I'm in. I do play in a band in the evening. And we decided we wanted to get some posters made. We were recording an album. We needed an album cover. We needed to decide which songs were going to go on the album. We had to record them, and that meant practicing them, probably playing them live. And again, it started to become quite a few tasks, but also quite a lot of people involved, and everyone had to do their part. So again, I drew that out. I didn't use Post-its, I just drew it down on a piece of paper, of a little flow diagram of what had to be done when. And I remember thinking, where do we even start? But once we'd drawn out the plan, it made it really obvious. There were 2 or 3 starting tasks. I think we had to decide which tracks were going to put the album, and we had to get a photo made of us as a group. It was really good to know how to get into that messy, tangled up collection of jobs to do. And when you've got a situation with lots of different stakeholders, like you do have in the band, everybody wants different things. They all want the album cover to look different. They want different tracks to be on the album. It's really important to sit down at the beginning and agree what the plan's going to be. And then I was thinking, what about work examples? And if I make a new video course or a book, I use project management. Again, I get a list of everything that's got to be done and who's going to do it. And quite often there are a number of people. So for example, I came up with an online life coaching program recently, but I had to write all the bits, but I had also an assistant who went through and sorted out the format of all the posts. I've got somebody else who uploads it to Kajabi because that's really technical. There's also the designing of the landing page, which people are going to go to, and that's done by another person. So we had to all coordinate what order they were going to be done in and who was going to do what. And that definitely was more than 2 people and was probably about 10 tasks. And so it was really great to get that just drawn out. Again, I didn't do Post-its, I just drew out a little diagram of what depended on what. But I also estimated the time and looked at how long it would take. So then I knew how long each person would have to do their various tasks. Some were on the critical path, some had loads of float, and I was able to say to them, any time in the next 2 months would be fine. And I knew who to chase because they were the people on the critical path. And the final thing I wanted to say about all of this is that I've written 2 books recently. One was time management and one was project management. I was not the project manager for either of them. I was just providing the content, but they had a really different experience because the project management one, as you'd probably expect, had a really good project manager. So it was really well defined of when the content was going to go in. There was an editor, there were graphics designed, which I had to look at and approve. I got the final version. I then fiddled with it a bit more. There was talk about the cover. We made an audio version, but the project manager had a plan and we all agreed it was fine. The time management book, they didn't have a project manager and I wasn't able to project manage it, although I would have quite liked to. And that just drifted. It took ages. The marketing was not really done very tightly. And as a result, it has not been as successful. I think the book is great, but it didn't have a proper launch. With this project management book, they asked me for a list of people. They sent out free copies to people. We got reviews on Amazon. It got momentum. It was really different to the time management book, which I think is an undiscovered gem, but then I would say that. But the project manager made all the difference between the success of those two different products. So project management is in everything that we do, all those tasks that we do, even if you're a self-employed one-man band like me. So I hope that's been useful. The learning points from this, I would say, are first of all, list the tasks. Get a really good list of everything that's got to be done in your project. Secondly, network diagrams. Post-its, critical path, whatever you want to call it. I think they're really underrated. Such a useful thing to do. And whether you use actual post-its or you just draw it out on a piece of paper, depends on the size of the project and things. But doing it some way, some sort of network diagram, I think is really, really useful. Obviously, that can become a Gantt chart later if you want. Probably will, because the third bit is to communicate the plan to everybody. Everybody agrees it at the start. Everyone knows where they're going to be. And probably the best way is to draw out some sort of a Gantt chart, probably on Excel, but it could just be just drawn out on a piece of paper. And you might just say, well, you know, that's January, February when you're doing that bit. That's going to be March. And at least people can just see the plan really simply. But if you've got 2 people or more, you have to have a plan that's made visual. And I personally would say that a Gantt chart is much better than just trying to work from the list of tasks. So you have to start with a list of tasks, absolutely. But just to cross tasks off your list is nowhere near as good as having a timeline so that you can see where you're at. Because then when you start to run late, you can see that and you can see how we're going to catch up. Can we overlap? Can we squeeze things? If you're just doing a list of tasks, you don't really know that. So just a really simple, small project plan, always worth doing.